Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. Tyson, we're back in the saddle today, baby. We are previewing week 5 of the NFL. And Tyson, we got our first bye weeks this week. It feels early. I don't know what you think about this for teams, but the Browns, the Bucks, the Chargers, and the Seahawks are all on bye this week. What do you think about these early bye weeks?
I mean, I'm not too upset with some of the offenses that we don't have to watch this weekend. The team's getting their bye early. I mean, it's a catch-22, right? Because you can be upset about it if you want as these teams, but also I'm sure the Browns are grateful to get a free week of healing for Deshaun Watson, and these guys are banged up already for sure. It's a no-win situation. Like, I don't want to have anybody on bye ever, but that just isn't the reality. That can't happen.
Yeah, as a viewer, it's tough, especially like when the NFL schedule makers, when they put 2 games in the afternoon slot and they're 2 horrendous games, and we're like, oh, God, is this what we have to watch? So at least we spaced it out a little bit this week, Tyson, but let's dive into it. We're going to have Money Making Time after we go through each game and preview it. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button. It really helps us out. And if you're listening to podcast form and you haven't already, go ahead, give us a 5-star and like it as well. It really helps us out. And we appreciate those recurring listeners if have already done that as well. So let's get into it, Tyson. We got an early game. Get up, baby. We got another London game here as they're actually in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's the Jags taking on the Bills. The Jags have stayed over in London. Jags are 5.5-point dogs against the Buffalo Bills. I'm looking forward to see if the Jags can piece together a couple good weeks. You know, this is obviously a step up in class from going from the Falcons to facing the red hot Bills, who just dismantled the Dolphins. But, you know, we had playoff aspirations for this Jags team. I want to see if they can deliver.
Can you explain this to me? So Jacksonville stays over in London for a week, and this is a Bills home game.
I don't get the scheduling thing behind it.
What the hell? Like, I understand that Jacksonville was like at home last week, so they don't have to lose multiple home games throughout the year. But we'll talk about a ridiculous competitive advantage. Like, they're chilling, they're adjusted to the time zone, all that stuff. I don't know how much it's going to matter. I'm looking for Jacksonville, especially. I'm looking for if Calvin Ridley is like indeed the wideout one. Last week he was shadowed by AJ Terrell the whole time, and if you have been following the NFL for pretty much Terrell's entire career outside of like the first 6 weeks of his rookie season, this dude is legit. He's awesome, and he has the highest shadow percentage in the league. So that's going to be interesting how that works. But like no Trey White. So is it the Christian Kirk show again? Is it a Calvin Ridley deal? What does this Jacksonville Jaguars offense look like when you kind of take away the elite pieces to stop the passing game? Because all offseason, right? It was, dude, once this team gets rolling, it's going to be hard to stop them. And then they look like shit to start the year, right? Like Calvin Ridley had a huge week 1, disappears week 2, doesn't have very much going for him last week. I think that this means more to Jacksonville certainly than it does to Buffalo, but who the hell wants to play the Buffalo Bills right now after they looked last week?
Yep, that's for sure. I do have a play in this game coming up in Money Making Time as well, just a little foreshadow there. Let's move into this one. Stateside, Houston Texans, they got to travel to Atlanta. They come off a huge victory over the Steelers. They look actually really good right now under first-year head coach DeMeco Ryans and their rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud. And the Falcons are coming back from London. Now, previously, there had been thought that, you know, coming back over, you know, you're going to have issues. That actually hasn't happened for those teams coming out of that trip. So I want to see if Desmond Ridder can step up and deliver. That's what I want to see. I think that's really what this game is. And on the other side, can they make the Texans uncomfortable enough on the defensive side to make CJ Stroud start looking like a rookie?
Is this the rookie of the year off this early in the season? Like, can we call the race between these two dudes on offense?
Well, Anthony Richardson will be sitting around because he's going to have some counting stats.
If Devon Achane keeps doing what he's doing, I guess that could really be a four-way thing here. But Bijan Robinson's been amazing to start his NFL career. CJ Stroud has been better than anybody thought he could be. Nico Collins is a monster. Like, it's awesome. But this is the toughest matchup that he's going to have with the aforementioned AJ Terrell, right? And like Jesse Bates, who feasted on Bryce Young to start the year. He's kind of going to go hunting again against another rookie quarterback. It's not available right now on FanDuel, and I am not going to save it for Money Making Time. CJ Stroud's going to throw a pick this week. So if you can get on that, I'd say go for it.
Panthers at Lions. Detroit, this is another long week for them after they played the Packers on Thursday Night Football last week, and they got to prepare for this Panthers team who looked a little feistier for a while against the Vikings and then just completely fell apart. Obviously, questions about Bryce Young, what this offense looks like compared to the Lions, who are just firing on all cylinders offensively with Ben Johnson really figuring things out as the offensive coordinator and Jared Goff running this offense to perfection. I got to see a little bit more out of Frank Reich and Bryce Young in this one. That's what I'm going to be looking at, because if Aiden Hutchinson is just going to be able to tee off on this rookie, this offense is going to be stagnant the entire time. But if they can get into a rhythm and try to do quick hitters, they may be able to move the ball and have some success. But that's what I'm mainly watching in this game.
Dude, I don't know how your brain went there, man. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown doubtful to play. Jameson Williams is back. That's got to be the story. For me, that's like all that I'm focused on. And I actually think Amon-Ra not playing is worse for Jameson Williams. Like if you're a guy that's, you drafted him at the end of your fantasy drafts or whatever, I probably wouldn't be trotting him out there this week. I wouldn't fire up my Jameson Williams shares. But this is a dude that we've been waiting on for a long time. And this is like the alpha wide receiver's out. So it's you and Sam Laporta. Let's go get it cracking. And it's not exactly the toughest draw to get here for Detroit, missing Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jahmyr Gibbs got added to the injury report today. This might be another 2-touchdown week for David Montgomery.
Titans at Colts. This is interesting because the Colts defense is just completely banged up. Tyquan Lewis, defensive end, out. Shaquille Leonard, linebacker, out with a concussion.
Bro, has he played in 2 years?
It doesn't feel well. I know he played to start the season, but
I know.
He's been banged up.
It sucks. It's so hard.
Julian Blackmon did not participate. He's been ruled out. Their safety, so they're banged up on the back end. And then you have the Tennessee Titans, who completely turned around their performance from the previous week against the Cincinnati Bengals, and now they're 2.5-point favorites. This is extremely interesting to me. I want to see if they can maintain that. We know in the division that Ryan Tannehill, Mike Vrabel, they always somehow show up. And after kind of thinking that Derrick Henry, Tajay Spears is getting more of the snap counts, he looked like vintage form against that Bengals team. So that's what I'm paying attention to.
And Tajay still got decent snap share. It's just like the king is back. It was just Derrick Henry reminding everybody, like, hey, man, if I get rolling, there's nobody that can stop me. Kind of a similar thing with the Jameson Williams point. Guess who's practicing, Brad? Guess who's designated to return from the IR, man? It's Jonathan Taylor. Is he going to play? I don't know. You're like, does he give a shit about being an Indianapolis Colt and, like, actually, going full effort for 80% snap share? I don't think so. So that's going to be really interesting, but it's Anthony Richardson against Mike Vrabel. It's going to be fun. The Titans defense isn't like, 2017, 18 levels of Titans defense, but it's still a definite test, especially in division for the rookie. This one is going to be like, this is the Shane Steichen show, because if this offense is able to do what they want against Tennessee in year one, it's going to be a really long decade for the AFC South.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor also came out and said, he is a part of the Indianapolis Colts. He wouldn't be there if he wasn't interested, yada, yada. So we'll see if that's just lip service or what happens here. Giants at Dolphins. Giants coming off just an embarrassing performance on their home field against the Seattle Seahawks in prime time. And the Dolphins, they got humbled a little bit against the Bills. So both teams looking to rebound here. The Giants are in shambles still regarding injuries. Tight end Daniel Bellinger, knees hurt. Gary Brightwell, ankles hurt. They're not going to have Andrew Thomas again. John Michael Schmitz, their center, he's out. Guard Shane Lemieux, groin, he's out. So this is going to be tough. And Saquon Barkley, I think, is going to miss this game as well. And on the flip side, I'm sure Jalen Waddle is going to return because I saw him practicing this week, so he's going to pass concussion protocol. So 7 players were limited, but I don't really think any of them are missing besides Taron Armstead, who was just put on IR. Tyson, this could be just an absolute ass kicking. I want to see, do the New York Giants have any fight left in them as 11.5-point dogs, or is this thing just going to crumble this early in the season?
Dude, they're going to get a boot put in them. It's ridiculous to be sitting here after 4 weeks, and like a genuine thought that I think you'd probably be right to have is, how did the New York Giants come back to beat the Arizona Cardinals, which is not something that we would have thought a month ago. Like, this team looks like they have no A, no identity, and B, like no real idea of what the hell's going on. Like unprepared, just bad offense, bad defense. The Dolphins might not even have to throw a pass. That's not how they're going to play. But like they could, like realistically, turn this into a 1 hour affair just by turning around and handing the ball off.
It's gonna be hard to watch. Hard to watch. Oh my gosh. How about this one? I mean, these are always fun. Ravens at Steelers, a classic AFC North showdown. Two teams that are banged up themselves. I mean, we all know the Ravens. I mean, they're a freaking infirmary, man. I mean, Adafa Owe, ankles out. Daryl Worley out. Morgan Moses doubtful. You know, Beckham Jr., Justice Hill, Marlon Humphrey, Keaton Mitchell, Ronnie Stanley. Let's just go through the list. They're questionable. Haven't heard necessarily any updates on them. But Tyson, on the other side, Pat Freiermuth, tight end for the Steelers. He's out. DeMarvin Leal, their defensive end. He's out. Alex Highsmith, their linebacker, questionable with a groin injury. So there's some injuries on both sides here. What I'm curious to watch is Lamar Jackson has struggled in his career against the Pittsburgh Steelers more than any other team. But this is also not the same Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is also a different offensive coordinator than Lamar Jackson has had in his tenure since he's joined the Ravens. Does that change things up, or is this just a team in the Pittsburgh Steelers that has his number? I'm going to be glued to this. I want to see what that looks like, because we could be potentially looking at a shift going forward. And also, I forgot to mention, Kenny Pickett expected to play the quarterback of the Steelers.
Who gives a shit? So basically, Todd Monken here has an opportunity to be made to look like a genius because of what Houston did a week ago against this Pittsburgh defense. Who would have thought, the Steelers aren't going to get home once on C.J. Stroud against the Houston Texans? No speeding him up, no anything. And can Baltimore take that style of offense, just kind of trying to play quick? And one thing, even now, through 4 games in his career, C.J. Stroud is like elite at moving linebackers with just his eyes in a way that Lamar Jackson doesn't really have to be. Not that like he's not. Let's just say that, but it's because he's never really you want to stay in the wrong side of the field. I'm just going to go where you're not with my legs, where CJ's going to move you and then try to throw front shoulder or something to the wide receiver, whatever quadrant you need it to. He's going to put the ball there. Lamar's not really like that. Basically, what I expect here is Bateman's going to play. He's going to get nothing. Odell's going to play. He's going to get a little bit. Mark Andrews is going to get the Mark Andrews touches that he always gets. And it's going to be Zay Flowers short. And that's probably enough to beat Pittsburgh.
Saints at Patriots in an extremely interesting game here, because the Patriots need to bounce back and they need to rebound. But the issue is Matthew Judon out for the year, torn biceps. Christian Gonzalez, torn labrum, probably out for the year. They have to go trade for J.C. Jackson, who was a disaster with the Los Angeles Chargers. And you kind of go through everything still. I mean, Trey Flowers, he's banged up. Christian Barmore, banged up. Cody Davis, defensive backs. Jonathan Jones, they're all banged up. Ramondre Stevenson, running back, hurt. Cole Strange, guard, hurt. You just go through everything, and the Patriots are in an infirmary right now. And on the flip side for the Saints, Derek Carr, his shoulder, what's that going to do? He's questionable right now. I think they're leaning towards playing him. I actually would go with Jameis Winston if I'm in charge here, just because we saw what Derek Carr did with his limited shoulder last week, and it was ugly. I have no clue what to expect. I think the Saints I think the Saints should beat the Patriots. They're 1-point dogs right now, which is surprising to me. But, this could be a classic game where the Patriots, everybody thinks they're dead, and then Bill Belichick pulls out some of that black magic.
Oh, and the Saints are missing their 2 starting guards here on the offensive line as well for this week, and that's going to make things tough going against a pretty good Patriots front 7 and whatever Bill's going to throw at him. Dennis Allen doesn't score enough points to really strike fear in anybody's heart, regardless of who the quarterback is. I agree with you, actually. I think logically, you would imagine that Jameis at least makes this offense a little bit more explosive or more fun, because Derek Carr can throw for 5,000 yards as many times as he wants, but the dude doesn't get the ball into the end zone. I just don't know how much this matters. We'll have plays on this in Money Making Time, but this might be if you're a Saints or a Patriots fan, just put on Red Zone. They'll catch you when something cool happens, but it's going to be this might be the first game done of the week. I think this is going to be quick.
First game of the afternoon slate, Bengals at Cardinals. Obviously, the Bengals need a huge rebound here. They're 3-point favorites against the upstart Cardinals, who have been a surprise. Really, Joe Burrow saying this is the best he's felt since he injured his calf. T. Higgins has been held out of practice with a rib injury. Is he going to be able to go? Orlando Brown was a new addition on the injury report with the groin injury. I mean, it basically comes to this. The Bengals have to win this game. Like, this is a must-win game, and they need to perform. I have a play in this one. That's all I'm going to say.
If they start 1-4 Cincinnati, then the questions like get really loud about like, do you shut Burrow down? Kind of, do you just trade T. Higgins now rather than wait for the offseason and hope for a comp pick? Because he's not coming back. I don't know really if there's any reports out there that like T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal for sure. But if they lose, dude, it like, you know, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Igbuka and Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers and those guys get a lot more enticing for the Cincinnati Bengals, because if they start 1-4, what is like the realistic ceiling? Because obviously, like, they could win 10 in a row and make the Super Bowl, but that's not going to happen. And the way this team looks so far, looks like this is going to be a close game. They might just come out and be the Cincinnati Bengals again now.
Yep, exactly. Eagles at Rams. Our Eagles traveling out west to face the Los Angeles Rams. Cooper Kupp is back. So what does that do to the offense? What does that do to Puka Nacua, who's been a real story so far? Fletcher Cox, new addition to the injury report for the Eagles. Cam Jurgens' foot. We'll see about that. I'm curious to see that. They missed practice, as well as Britton Covey, who had a concussion. And safety Sidney Brown, the rookie, was limited with a hamstring injury. We'll see what happens in this game. I think everybody expects this to be a high-scoring game. I kind of initially thought that as well. But Matthew Stafford, remember, like last week, he said his hip almost shut down. That's going to be tough if the Eagles are going to be able to get penetration. So I want to see for the Philadelphia Eagles, can they generate pressure on Matthew Stafford? Because it hasn't quite been up to the same level as last year. So this could be a good game to see where they're at regarding that.
And the pass defense in Philly's not good. Like, it's not good enough to get to where they want to go, and they're just happen to be walking into Cooper Kupp's return and Puka Nacua, who, like, traditionally that's the exact kind of wide receiver Philadelphia has had a really hard time with. The new defensive coordinator doesn't really matter. Like, you can go back a decade, and these are the kind of guys that Philly just struggles with. I don't have an answer as to why, but I will say that Kyron Williams has been a complete revelation for Los Angeles. This is the time to see if it's real, because this Eagles defense, this rush defense, at least is among the best in the league. I think, like, statistically right now, they're number one in the NFL. Jordan Davis is the number one interior defensive lineman against the run in the NFL. And it's going to be a Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter game with Fletcher Cox out, because you can't really think that they're just going to put Contavious Street or Moro Ajomo and just throw those guys into huge reps after not playing much to start the year. So it's going to be like, can the Rams run enough to make it matter that they're going to be able to throw the ball? Because eventually, like, inside the 20, it gets harder and harder to score. And if you can't punch these things in, and that's what Kyron Williams has been making a living off of this year, is those red zone touches. If he's not getting in the end zone, this isn't going to be that good of a football game. I think that the Rams are a very live dog here, Brad.
I think Fletcher Cox might play. He was held out of practice, but I think he's going to go. I just don't know how limited he's going to be if he plays. That's the thing here. Chiefs Vikings, pretty good injury report for both these teams here. Harrison Smith was held out of practice, Jordan Hicks as well. But I mean, mainly rest days for the veterans. That's kind of how it looks like. But Jalen Watson was limited with the shoulder injury for the Chiefs. That's tough if you're cornerback, if you're going to be light in the secondary against this Vikings passing attack. What's interesting to me is the Chiefs opened as a 5-point favorite. They are down to 3.5-point favorites. Like, obviously, there is some money coming in on the Minnesota Vikings, who got their first taste of victory last week against the Panthers. Could they potentially be a live dog here? We've said the Chiefs are one of the best defenses in the NFL through the first 4 games. Then Zach Wilson shredded them up. I mean, he had some really good throws. How do they look against this Minnesota Vikings passing attack? Maybe the Chiefs come back down to earth a little bit. That's what I'm paying attention to.
We'll see. It's going to be a classic Spags, like, dial up as many blitzes as you can bring game and see if Kirk can handle all the extra pressure and the exotic looks and stuff. At this point in the year, I think the Vikings are just that team that's going to go out there and try to score 30 and then see what happens. Like, let the chips fall where they may. Would have worked last week against Kansas City. Problem is, like, when's the last time Pat Mahomes strung 2 of those things together? Like, 2 stinkers in a row. It just doesn't happen. I liked it a lot better at 5.5, because there was a real chance for a backdoor cover. The 3.5, I understand why That number's kind of been hammered down, but I think that's a little bit over ambitious. And to be honest, like there's a pretty good chance in my brain, at least, that part of the Zach Wilson kind of coming out party, so to speak, was just a lack of respect from Kansas City.
Jets at Broncos. Speaking of Zach Wilson, he'll go into Denver to face the worst defense in the NFL. We'll see if he can string 2 good games back to back as they travel this one. Good injury report for the Jets, actually. Like Mekhi Becton, their offensive tackle, and their offensive guard Wes Schweitzer. There were some limited participants, but still expected to go. They also welcomed back Carter Warren off the IR, which seemingly could be a good boost for them as well. This is an offensive line that struggled. And on the flip side, Denver is continually banged up as they have tons of limited participants, and most notably running back Javonte Williams, who did not practice on Wednesday and could be missing this game with a hamstring injury as well, or quad hamstring type of injury. I think the story is this: can Zach Wilson string 2 games together? I mean, this is a defense. If he's going to do it, it has to be against the Broncos. They've made every single person look like Roger Staubach. We'll see if Zach Wilson can do that as well.
And on the flip side, man, this might be out of left field, and I don't know if people are going to necessarily like the way that I'm, looking at this game. This is the Marvin Mims game. This is the Marvin Mims game. Like, we've been waiting for it as far as usage and things like that. Look, it's going to be – Sauce Gardner is going to take either Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy essentially out of the game from the jump. Neither one of those 2 guys are good enough to really put a dent in Sauce's armor there. And Marvin Mims' snap count and snap share has been going up steadily. Russell Wilson says that Marvin Mims kind of deserves the ball more. Well, this is a pretty good opportunity because this Jets defense is really good. And what do you want to do to kind of alleviate some of that pressure? We need quick hitters. Do you want to throw it to Jerry Jeudy and get him broken in half? No. Cortland Sutton is not the guy to throw quick hitters to, A, because he's going to drop them, and then B, there's no yak threat with him. I think this is a big Marvin Mims game.
Sunday Night Football, huge game between the Cowboys and the 49ers. Micah Parsons was limited in practice with knee injury. Malik Hooker, shoulder injury, the same. So I think they're going to play. The Micah Parsons thing is more speculation. I do think he's going to play, but the 49ers, they do have some injuries here. John Feliciano, their center, he's got a concussion he's dealing with. Defensive tackle Dre Greenlaw's hurt with an ankle injury. Elijah Mitchell continued to battle a knee injury. Charvarius Ward is dealing with a heel injury. They all did not practice Wednesday. And Deebo Samuel, he's been limited with a knee injury. So a much more favorable report here for the Dallas Cowboys. But this is what I'm paying attention to. Can the Cowboys rise to the occasion here? Can they rise to a challenge and be able to compete with a team that we view as one of the top teams in the NFC? Because that's where the Cowboys want to get to. Like, they've been eliminated by the 49ers the past 2 seasons in the playoffs. Is this a spot where they can actually elevate their game and compete with a team that we view as potential Super Bowl winners?
And on top of that, like, one of my least favorite sayings or things that people say, at least in sports, is when defenses create turnovers. Like, you want your defense to create turnovers. And Dallas gets a lot of credit because their defense is awesome and they take the ball away a bunch. I don't know through this point in the year how many of those turnovers they've created versus like Mac Jones just throwing the ball directly to one of your guys. Right. And Brock Purdy's not going to make those mistakes. So is Dallas actually creating the turnovers, or are they just being taken what's given to them, which is a really good thing for an NFL defense to be. But that's a next level thing to be genuinely creating turnovers, because they're going to scheme Micah Parsons right out the game. They're going to run right at Micah Parsons. They're going to just be like, hey, here's Trent Williams. Why don't you two get acquainted, get to know each other, and is Chris McCaffrey going to get in the end zone again? Because, dude, this guy is on an otherworldly tear right now.
Final game, Monday Night Football, Packers at Raiders. So it went from Packers being the favorites now the Vegas Raiders being a 1.5-point favorite because Jimmy Garoppolo has been cleared from his concussion and will be the starter. So that obviously increases the offensive ability here from the Raiders. I know, it was the hot thing, right? Aiden O'Connell, we got to see what you got. And he was completely overwhelmed in his first start, as he should be as a rookie, right? Against a guy in Brandon Staley. I know we've criticized him, but still runs some principles with some talent on that side of the ball where it's going to make things difficult. So what does this Raiders team look like? Are they going to be able to run the football? Is Jimmy Garoppolo going to be able to come back from his concussion and find his playmakers? And on the other side, how do the Packers respond off of a long week off that Thursday night game where they were quite honestly kind of embarrassed by the Lions.
And two teams that have refused to score points in the first half and have just tried to work their way back into football games to this point in the year. So something's got to give there. Last week, I thought that Justin Herbert was going to throw all over Vegas. Didn't happen. Granted, he hurt his non-throwing hand, but I don't know necessarily how much that had to do with it. I was impressed with the Vegas Raiders passing defense in that game. Jordan Love is going to have to be better than he was on Thursday because we were all so eager to be like, have you seen him through the first couple of weeks? Like ignoring a lot of the bad plays to talk about like the good stuff, how efficient he was, how he's finding the end zone, scoring touchdowns is a skill. We always talk about that and all that stuff. Dude, you got to score, and you got to score. Those are the three rules as an NFL quarterback. And they don't do them in the most opportune times, right? It's different when Romeo Doubs catches a touchdown down 14 to cut it to 7 for your third passing touchdown of the game as it is to put you up by 21. And that's something that I'm looking to see from this Packers team because, like, we love the Lions. That division is still open.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what this offense looks like when Aaron Jones is back and healthy and Christian Watson returns as well. Like those are two big weapons that are missing from this offensive unit. So that's something to keep an eye on moving forward as well. But Tyson, it's time, baby. Money making time. And before we, you know what we do? We're transparent here. We got to tell you how we did last week. And Tyson, we were close to an absolute monster week. I went 3-3. We got the Jags home overseas. The Rams team total, that turned sweaty for absolutely no reason, but it still got home. Vikings was a sweat for a long time. Both you and I hit that. Browns kind of got screwed a little bit. I mean, it was a shocking thing that Deshaun Watson sat out with that shoulder injury. Let's be honest. Like, it was actually like doctors were like, I don't understand this. And then the Packers couldn't get home that teaser plus 7.5 in division, which was frustrating. And then the worst one of all, the play of the week. Chargers scored 24 in the first half, scored 0 in the second half, even though they had the ball in opportune positions the entire time. Had a pick six that they could have brought back to the house, and Brandon Staley told his cornerback to sit on the ball. Kneels, they don't get a first down and puts them in another sweaty situation. Just a frustrating thing. But Tyson, you went 3-0.
I did. Yeah, I had the Steelers and the Texans under 41.5. The Vikings -4, as you mentioned, and then the Bucs Saints. That one was free at 40.5 for the play of the week. And Brad, weirdly enough, I'm a little frustrated because in our pick'em that we're in together, I go 5-0. I hit a 9-leg parlay, and I only had the guts to give out 3 of the plays on the podcast. And right now, if you tell the people what we're sitting at, it's not pretty, but that doesn't mean like last week might have been the best NFL betting weekend I've ever had in my life. And I couldn't even get us over 500 for the year. I mean, what am I doing?
Well, Tyson made 2.73 units in week 4. Because the Chargers screwed me over, I lost 1.37 units. So we made 1.36 on the show. So still a profitable show. That's back-to-back weeks that we profited here. On the season total, I'm down 3.9 units, or I'm sorry, 0.39 units. Tyson's down 0.45. And so as a podcast, we're only down 0.84 units. And so we're right there. Like we are right there, and we're chomping at the bit to make sure this thing gets positive. I have 6 plays that I'm eyeing so far. Tyson, I'm not sure how many you have here.
I got 5. So if you listen to our college football podcast, you might be confused as to why Brad cut his amount of bets in half.
Well, I mean, namely because there's not 100 games, but I still managed to get some plays I liked here. So I'll start since I have 6. I'm gonna start overseas, and it's simple. I'm gonna go Jaguars plus 5.5 for me here. And yes, I'm jumping in front of the train. Like this is a train that I think could completely run me over. But to me, the Jaguars are staying overseas. They don't have to deal with the travel. This is an opportunity for them to gel as a team. This is something that they've excelled in, is playing over in over in London, where they're going to have a fan base and a support. The Bills are coming off one of the best games of the season. How motivated are they going overseas on a long trip, coming off of a great game where they performed against the Miami Dolphins? I think the Bills win, but I think this could be a field goal game, a low-scoring affair where Jacksonville does enough to either outright win or just lose by a field goal. So I'm taking Jags plus 5.5 here on FanDuel.
I thought about that one long and hard too, but to me, Jacksonville seems to only beat the Bills when they're bad. And I don't know if Jacksonville's bad this season. Brad, I'm going to start it off here for my plays this week. I have the Jets and the Broncos under 43.5 points. And I understand Denver is the worst defense in the NFL, and the Jets offense looked improved. It's just two teams that don't score the ball, man. And so it's really hard for me to picture like a 31-17 football game here. I think this is, if I lose, I lose. But I'm not I'm not scared of the Broncos offense or the Jets offense. But I wasn't scared of the Bears last night, and they damn near covered the number by themselves.
Well, I was actually going to put this in a play for the over, to be completely honest with you.
You might need to.
The Jets, man, I tell you, like, yeah, the defense showed up like later in that game, but man, it's kind of been leaky a little bit for the New York Jets after that first game. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Tyson, I'm going Falcons -1.5 here at -115. So there's going to be a little bit of a theme here, a couple of my plays, but this is the one here. Enough is enough at some point. I know we talk about priors and coming off of that this far in, but at some point priors do matter. And the look ahead line on this was 3.5, and preseason, I believe it was about 3.5, 4. So you're telling me that at home now, the Falcons are 1.5 point favorites, that the Houston Texans would actually be a pick 'em or even close to a 0.5 point, 1 point favorite on a neutral. That just sounds so backwards from where we were at the beginning of the season. So I'm going to take the Falcons -1.5 with a good secondary that I think can speed up CJ Stroud and a running game that I think is going to dominate. So give me Falcons -1.5 here on FanDuel.
Did you know the Falcons have the most targets to tight ends through 4 weeks in the NFL?
No, but did you know this one? I forgot to say this. Desmond Ridder has not lost a game at home in college or now in the NFL.
That's a pretty wild stat, and that eventually will come to an end because he's not very good.
Not this week.
Here, Brad. And by the way, just for the people at home, Brad's a Penn State alumnus, so maybe that plays into why he thinks CJ Stroud has a bad game. I didn't say it; I just heard it. Some other place. The Ravens -4.5. The logic here is simple. I've been fading the Pittsburgh Steelers all season, and it's worked out pretty well for me. I don't look, dude. Kenny Pickett plays. Kenny Pickett doesn't play. What's the real difference in this offense? Deontay Johnson's not playing. George Pickens isn't as good as people thought he was going to be. Muth is out. Najee Harris has been better than the narrative on him is, but he still hasn't been great. This Ravens defense is good enough to just kind of, par for the course. The Steelers don't score, don't let them score. Like, don't make boneheaded mistakes. They won't do that. And Baltimore had a get-right game last week where they they cleaned house, man, and they're going to put boots on the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend, I believe.
Oh man, those division games are so scary, dude. The AFC North, I'm just, they give me like the chills, man. I'm just like,
that's because you've been taking the Bengals this whole time.
Well, maybe taking them again, we'll see. But I love the Lions in this one. Team total over 26.5. Now it's juicy at -140, and if it moves up to 27.5, I still like it. I think they're going to score 4 touchdowns in this game. Yes, the Panthers defense looked much better against the Vikings compared to what happened against the Seahawks. But with the Lions with more preparation time, with a much better running game than what the Vikings have, I do think that they're going to be able to break open the gates here and score a lot of points at home. Like their offense is just much better at home. So give me over 26.5 here for the Lions.
This is my first feed-up play of the week here, Brad. This is not actually my play of the week. It's just the first one where I'm very confident in this. Devon Achane, over 49.5 rushing yards in the Dolphins versus Giants game. If you've been paying attention, this snap share has been kind of working more towards Achane's favor in the last couple of weeks. And last week, Raheem Mostert had his worst game of the year, coupled with a handful of fumbles. They lost the game, and Devon Achane had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, this dude he's really good, and I just think that this number isn't quite indicative of how he's looked over the last 2 weeks. Plus, like, Miami's going to run the ball for 150 yards. That's just I think this is a real opportunity where this is a one-play hitter with Devon Achane. I
can't believe it's that low. Like, honestly, it makes me
49.5.
49.5. Okay, so I misheard it. Let me get that up here properly. 49. Yeah, you said, I heard 40.5. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna go run and play that right now. I do like that. Also, if I'm looking at something here, let me see if I can pull this up because I know Tyreek Hill is the popular touchdown scorer prop. He's minus 160. That seems insane to me.
That's
I like Raheem Mostert minus 130. He didn't get into the end zone last weekend. I mean, he's a scorer too, and I know they've been running Achane down there, but Mostert's a look for me. He's a live look at a touchdown at minus 130. Not an official play for me, but I'll tell you what's official. I mean, I said it. Enough is enough when we're talking about the Falcons, and I can't believe what's going on here with this Cincinnati Bengals team and this number. Like Bengals minus 3 on the road. Like, I don't care. Like, I know the Cardinals are a cute little story. I know they've been trying hard. Woo, good job, guys. This look ahead line was 7.5. Like, I get it. Like, the Bengals have not been the team we thought, but if they turn this thing around, they're going to smash the Cardinals. Like, we're talking about a team that was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago in the AFC Championship. Probably, if we're being honest, probably should have gone back to the Super Bowl last year as well. That's this team. So I know T. Higgins banged up. I know Jamar Chase seems frustrated, yada, yada. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not coming off the Bengals here, and I get them laying a field goal. I like that. If it gets up to 3.5, don't touch it. But Bengals minus 3. Okay, if they win by 3, I push. I'm taking that all day.
I knew you were going there based on our conversations throughout the week, and I tried to get there myself. I am just mortified. I'm petrified right now of the Cincinnati Bengals because I don't know what to expect, man. What I do know what to expect is with Anthony Richardson, when the ball gets on the goal line, Anthony Richardson puts the ball in the end zone himself. That is my next play here. A-Rich touchdown, anytime touchdown score, plus 135. Dude, this guy is electric. He's awesome. He's awesome. And I don't really love the fact that they're going against Tennessee this week, but there will be opportunities for him to score a touchdown in this game. I think Tennessee's going to do their absolute best to take away Michael Pittman. And it's been an awesome story with Michael Pittman this year. But they're going to make Anthony Richardson move to the next read. And what do we know about Anthony Richardson through this point in his NFL career is that when he has to move through his reads, sometimes he just tucks it and goes. The thing is, when you're 6'5", 240 pounds, and you're at a 4.3 something 40-yard dash, it's not exactly the worst plan in the world. I think he gets in the end zone this week.
I'm taking the Cowboys plus 3.5 on Sunday Night Football. Am I comfortable? Am I confident in this? No, but it's just a number here. 3.5. I fully understand that the 49ers have just been smashing teams at home, and Shanahan, he's got on I think it's a 9-game cover streak at home as well. So this is one where I'm jumping in front of another bus, man. I'm jumping in front of the train, both the Bills and the 49ers. But I think, again, the sentiment about what this 49ers team is a little bit more fiction than reality. They're a really good football team.
They're getting talked about like the Avengers. That is true.
They're getting talked about like they're the Avengers. And yes, they have some players on that team that are really good, but Tyson, this offensive line's not as good as it was last year. This defense has given up explosive plays. And this is a team in the Cowboys who have a really good defensive line, a really good secondary, and have playmakers on offense. So you're going to give me 3 in the hook here. I got to take the Cowboys, who are motivated for this one. They know that they've been eliminated by this team, and they're going to be ready for this one. Give me the Cowboys plus 3.5 Sunday Night Football.
You think they line Tony Pollard up under center to start the game, just as a little tribute to Zeke?
That would be hilarious.
That would be pretty funny. Brad, my play of the week here, the numbers moved a little bit here, but the Saints and New England Patriots under 39.5 points. Like, I'm comfortable with this for a whole nother point, man. This is how many points are they going to score? Like, how many points can they score? Can these two offenses with no defense on the field in 60 minutes, can either one of them actually hit 40 points? I don't think so. Like, these teams stink. These offenses suck. I think Chris Olave will have a good game, but Chris Olave doesn't score touchdowns. And that, like, Ramondre Stevenson got to get it going. This is not the defense to get it going against. Mac Jones looks horrible. But we know, why isn't it a bigger deal? It's because Zappy sucks. But why isn't it a bigger deal that this is like the second or third time now in Mac Jones' career that he's just been benched? Any other first-round quarterback, that's a huge story. That's a major storyline. And when it happens to Mac Jones, it's just like, yeah, well, we get it. And that's an issue.
It's interesting, like Belichick's, like, thought process. I mean, it kind of does make sense. Like, they were getting smoked. There was really no reason to keep him out there. Like, it was more shocking when they kept Daniel Jones out there for as long as they did than benching Mac Jones. So I see what you're saying, but yeah, I don't know. This is interesting. I'm curious, man, because this is one of those ones where either all of a sudden each offense just randomly shows up, or like this is an Army Navy game. Like there's no in between.
Yeah, and if it was an Army Navy game, then give me Bill Belichick.
Exactly. My play of the week, I'm taking Eagles team total over 27.5. And this is simple for me. People are underrating this Eagles offense because it doesn't look as good as it looked last year. Tyson, if you look at the advanced metrics, the EPA, the success rate, this is the same exact offense as last year. It just hasn't quite shown up on the scoreboard the same, or it hasn't looked as visually appealing. So with that, I think people are down on this offense. This is a defense in the Rams that just saw Shane Steichen last week. And I think people are saying, well, now they know how to counter what the Eagles are offering. Did anybody watch that second half? Like they could not stop
what the Colts were offering.
Exactly. They couldn't stop Michael Pittman, who's a good player. Now they're going to stop Jalen Hurts, who's better than Anthony Richardson, a way better offensive line, a way better running back, and way better receivers. I don't see it happening. Now, on the other side, if the Rams do score quickly, like it could happen, right? Like we maybe they move the ball. The Eagles are going to be in chase mode. The Eagles are going to have to score. I love this play. I think they easily get this. I think this is one of those things where everybody's like, oh, this could be the one where the Eagles get got. And then they show up and make a statement. So give me Eagles team total over 27.5 for 2 units here as my play of the week.
I hope it's 8 Jake Elliott field goals.
That would be awesome. I mean, he ain't missing if it is.
Actually, it'd have to be 10, dude. I suck at math. I got to stop, trying to do this mental stuff. I sit at work all day staring in front of a screen. I have the calculators do it for me, and I can't even do 30 divided by 3. Jesus.
Well, Tyson, I'm not going to lie. We have a lot of plays. I don't know how much more I'm adding, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on any injury reports and things like that. So where can they find the rest of our plays if we add more?
In the Chalkboard app, the App Store, Google Play, wherever you download your apps. It's a group just like Discord or any of those other kind of similar things if you're familiar with them. It's a free group. ISWIS presents the Roundtable Bets. Just type that in. We'll let you write in. It's free, and we got all the NFL plays, all college football plays. I mentioned I hit a 9-legger last week. That we got a fun parlay section in there. We have MMA section in there. We got playoff baseball rolling. We got whatever you could think of. Like we're playing it. And by the way, golf's back. So
hockey's back.
Yes, any sport that you're thinking, we're probably playing. And it's not like you hop in there and have to do what we say. Go ahead and tell me I'm an idiot. Most of the time, I am.
Yeah, me too, especially in college football this season, which has been rough. But we're going to turn it around, and I think we're going to have a good NFL week this week. I'm knocking on wood. I don't want to jinx anything, but I'm confident in what we got going on, Tyson. In the meantime, though, like, subscribe, and share the show. Like I said off the top, if you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like button. It really does help us out if you've liked what you've seen. And if you haven't, let us know in the comments as well. And if you're listening in podcast form, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and do that so you don't miss any of our content. And if you haven't, please rate and review as well. That really does help us out. And if you've already done it, thank you. We appreciate all the recurring listeners that come in and those who watch us on YouTube as well. So you can stay connected with us. Social media, X, Instagram, TikTok. It's all the same handle at ISWIS_pod. We are back next week breaking down what we saw in week 5 of this NFL slate. We hope you enjoy the weekend watching college football, watching NFL football. We'll be back to talk about all of that. Enjoy your weekend. Talk to you soon. Peace.